The night Ozzy Osbourne decided to change his life didn't happen on a stage or in a recording studio. It happened while he was locked in a dingy Birmingham jail cell, sentenced to 6 weeks for a botched burglary. He was 17, penniless, and ashamed that his father had refused to pay his fine. When he was released, he swore never to go back. A few months later, he stumbled into a rehearsal space, stuck a microphone in front of himself, and belted out a song. That desperate gamble by a dyslexic kid from a working-class neighborhood became the seed of heavy metal. But on the other side of the Atlantic, a boy named Lars Ulrich was sitting behind a gleaming drum kit his grandmother had shipped from Copenhagen. Born into a family of tennis champions and jazz royalty, he never scrubbed abattoir floors or learned to weld pipes. Instead, he placed an ad looking for musicians and used his family's home in Newport Beach as a practice space. Two very different beginnings, both leading to rock and roll greatness. How did these contrasting journeys shape the music they made? And what can their next stories tell us about the role of privilege and hardship in creating legends? This video explores how wildly different upbringings shape some of rock's most iconic figures. By comparing pairs of musicians raised in poverty with those raised in privilege, we'll see how both hardship and comfort can feed creativity. Ozzy versus Lars. Across decades and genres, the tension between scarcity and abundance continues to fascinate. We'll discover why there's no single recipe for greatness, only countless stories of perseverance, luck, and vision. These contrasts offer lessons not just for music fans, but for anyone chasing a dream. Ozzy Osbourne grew up in Aston, England, the fourth of 6 children crammed into a small house. Dyslexia made school unbearable, so he quit at 15 and drifted from plumbing jobs to cleaning a slaughterhouse. One night, he burgled a clothes shop and was caught. His father refused to pay the fine, hoping a stint behind bars would teach him a lesson, and Ozzy spent 6 weeks in jail. He emerged determined to make a living from the only thing that made him feel alive: music. After answering a Singer Wanted ad, he met guitarist Tony Iommi. Their band, renamed Black Sabbath, paired Ozzy's eerie vocals with heavy riffs and unwittingly created heavy metal. Even after being fired for substance abuse, Ozzy refused to quit. His solo career yielded a string of hit albums and proved that a working-class kid could reshape rock. Lars Ulrich's childhood could not have been more different. Born into a family of professional tennis players and jazz royalty, he grew up in a home where art and sport were equally important. His father, Torben, played at Wimbledon and counted composers and painters among his friends. At 9, he watched Deep Purple with his dad, and instead of being steered back to the court, was encouraged to explore music. High-end drum kit was shipped from Europe, and when the family moved to California, he practiced in a comfortable suburban home. Failing to make the tennis team was hardly a crisis. He simply placed an ad for other musicians. That ad led to James Hetfield, and together they formed Metallica. Lars used his connections and resources to focus relentlessly on his playing and the band's business. By balancing privilege with perseverance, he helped forge thrash metal's most successful act.
Jimi versus Lenny. Jimi Hendrix was born in 1942 to teenage parents in Seattle. His father was drafted soon after his birth, leaving his mother to raise him alone in poverty. The family bounced between damp rooms and relatives' couches, and Jimi found solace in sound. With no money for instruments, he strummed a broom, then a discarded one-string ukulele. He saved up for a second-hand guitar and restrung it left-handed, learning blues licks by ear. After a stint in the army, he worked as a backing guitarist for soul singers until a British manager spotted him in a New York club and whisked him to London. There, the Jimi Hendrix experience exploded onto the scene. Hendrix would play with his teeth, set his guitar on fire, and bend notes like no one before him. His flamboyant style and searing solos forever changed the instrument, proving that raw talent can transform pain into art. Lenny Kravitz, by contrast, was immersed in show business from birth. His father was a television producer and his mother an actress on the sitcom The Jeffersons. Jazz greats visited their New York apartment, and by age 5, he was playing drums and guitar. He spent his youth bouncing between Brooklyn and the Upper East Side before the family moved to Los Angeles. At Beverly Hills High School, he honed his singing in an award-winning choir and soaked up influences from gospel, Motown, and the classic rock records his parents adored. Wanting to escape his parents' shadow, he adopted the stage name Romeo Blue and even slept in his car while gigging around town. Eventually, he embraced his heritage, releasing Let Love Rule in 1989. His blend of rock, soul, and funk earned critical acclaim and showed that privilege can provide a platform, but individuality and persistence are still crucial to succeed. Kurt versus Julian. Kurt Cobain grew up in the logging town of Aberdeen, Washington. Money was scarce, his parents divorced when he was 9, and he often slept on friends' couches or under a bridge. School offered no comfort, so he dropped out at 17 and immersed himself in music. After an early punk outfit, he and bassist Novoselic formed Nirvana. Their debut album drew underground attention. Their second, Nevermind, catapulted them to global fame with the single Smells Like Teen Spirit. Cobain wrote from a place of pain and alienation, and his unpolished voice resonated with millions of disaffected youth. He struggled under the weight of fame and addiction, and his life ended at 27. Yet his songs remain touchstones for anyone who feels like an outsider. Julian Casablancas, by contrast, was immersed in show business from birth. His father was a television producer, and his mother an actress on the sitcom The Jeffersons. Jazz greats visited their New York apartment, and by age 5, he was playing drums and guitar. He spent his youth bouncing between Brooklyn and the Upper East Side before the family moved to Los Angeles. At Beverly Hills High School, he honed his singing in an award-winning choir and soaked up influences from gospel, Motown, and the classic rock records his parents adored. Wanting to escape his parents' shadow, he adopted the stage name Romeo Blue and even slept in his car while gigging around town. Eventually, he embraced his heritage, releasing Let Love Rule in 1989. His blend of rock, soul, and funk earned critical acclaim and showed that privilege can provide a platform, but individuality and persistence are still crucial to succeed.
Eddie versus Wolf. Jan and Eugenia Van Halen left the Netherlands in 1962 with 2 sons, a few belongings, and a piano. They landed in the United States with almost no money and settled in Pasadena. Jan washed dishes and played gigs. Eugenia cleans hotels. The household was modest but musical. Jan insisted that sons Alex and Eddie learn classical piano, and when they grew restless, they built drum kits from pots and pans. In high school, the brothers formed a band, added singer David Lee Roth, and rebranded themselves as Van Halen. Their 1978 debut album unleashed Eddie's revolutionary 2-hand tapping technique, launching them from garages to arenas. It's hard to overstate how far they came, from immigrants with $40 to inventors of a new guitar language. Wolfgang Van Halen inherited that legacy. Unlike his father, he grew up in a hillside mansion with a recording studio attached. He learned drums, guitar, and bass from family members and could play most instruments by his teens. At 15, he joined Van Halen as their touring bassist. After Eddie's death, rather than rely on his surname, Wolf formed his own project, Mammoth WVH. He wrote all the songs and played every instrument on the album. Its success showed that a famous last name can open doors, but it doesn't guarantee respect. You still have to deliver the work. For Wolf, that meant writing hooks worthy of the family name. The Van Halen story embodies both the immigrant grind and the weight of living up to a legend. Common threads. These 8 musicians came from drastically different worlds: cramped row houses and sprawling estates, abandoned bridges and private boarding schools. Some had to steal guitars, others received top-quality instruments as gifts. Yet their journeys share a few crucial threads. Each found an obsession early and invested countless hours into mastering it. Each reinvented himself when setbacks hit, whether Ozzy rebuilding after being fired or Wolf stepping out of his father's shadow. And each channeled genuine emotion into art that resonated far beyond their own circles. Adversity can fuel hunger and originality. That's clear in the raw power of Hendrix's solos or the unvarnished honesty of Cobain's lyrics. Privilege can offer safety to experiment and fail, as seen in Ulrich's relentless pursuit of a distinct sound or Kravitz's genre-bending compositions. Neither path is guaranteed. Talent and tenacity are the only constants. The takeaway is simple. Greatness can emerge from anywhere. Whether you're a teen sweeping a grocery store with a broom guitar or a kid practicing drums in a Hollywood studio, what matters most is the drive to create something real. It isn't where you start, it's how fiercely you pursue your vision.